Hey everybody, this is Lady J. Welcome to This is a Talk. We're gonna have a talk tonight. And y'all know that I be doing these talks where we just sit down and we just really talk about things that we're dealing with or some things that we're going through. So this week I'm in Delaware and I'm here with a friend of mine who's over there, but she won't come on the screen. So let me just tell you the backstory about her, okay? While I share this video. Y'all don't forget to share the video. But the backstory is that when I first went into radio, the person who actually discovered me in radio in 2019, right? I was in Las Vegas. So she was like really like you have it. You have what it takes to be in radio, have your own show and all of that. And so it was a couple things I had to get ready the next day to talk to her and give her, all of my details for what the show was going to be called and all of that. But one of the things she said to me is that you have to come up with a name. Like your name just can't be Charlene. You need to have a radio name. And so I really didn't think much about it. And, I wasn't expecting her to just like ask me again. So the next day she said, what's the name of your show? I told her that. What time you want to start? Told her that. And then she said, what's your radio name? And before I could even like think twice, I said Lady J. The reason I said Lady J is because my friend over here always calls me Lady CJ. So the first thing that popped in my mind was I didn't want to say like Lady CJ. I just thought, let's do Lady J. So that name has just taken off. And to be honest with you, I really don't know, like, if people know my real name. I don't think they do because everybody just calls me Lady J, and it's cool. Then when I went to school, they started calling. I mean, when I graduated, they started calling me Dr. Lady J. I just think people don't know my name anymore. It's her fault. She won't even come on the camera, y'all. She's in the background. But anyway, so anyway, her name is Desiree, and she's a really good friend. And the thing is, this is serious. My friend, a friend of mine, committed suicide about 2 weeks ago, and it just made me really feel like, when you have friends, when you have family, like sometimes you have to stop what you're doing, and you really need to just just kind of sit back. So I got my this is over. I'm going to the pool, but the thing is, like when you have friends you have to sometimes pull back in your family and you just have to stop and like spend some time with them. So Daz was at my graduation and also you remember when I was in that the head on collision in Delaware and she knows that I'm really big. It's not even funny. She knows I'm really big on like my hair and makeup and stuff. So the first thing she's talking to me about was what do you want some scarves for your head? You want a head wrap? It's I can laugh now, but I was in a head-on collision and I was in shock trauma. And she came and she put the scarves on my head and everything. So that's what friends do. So oops, there's my mouth. That's what friends do. So I'm just like really happy. And when my friend committed suicide a couple weeks ago, I was just like, certain people that I really need to just stop. She comes down and spends time with me in Maryland. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go up and spend time in Delaware with her. So that's what I'm doing right now. Tried to get her to sit on the screen with me, but she won't do it. Does you want the microphone? Why are people so intimidated with the I don't know. But anyway, y'all, so we're gonna have a talk because I told you sometimes like God just really he just really talks to me about certain things and I really try to stay spiritually in tune to whatever it is that he's telling me to do because I know that whatever I'm saying that it's going to be a blessing to somebody else, not because I'm saying it, but because it's coming from him. So anyway, tonight, just for a few minutes, what I want to talk about is the importance of just being quiet. So that's why I put the topic up, like, just be quiet. Because sometimes you know, we need to have some alone time, some quiet time, some focus time. We need to just kind of let our brains relax, in our body and just relax and come to a quiet place. There's so much stuff going on in the world right now that people are just going crazy. You know, when my friend committed suicide a couple of weeks ago, we had talked. We had been talking a lot, and I knew some of the things that my friend was dealing with. I knew that this person lost their job and was struggling. And a lot of times, when people, if you're not mentally strong and mentally sound, you will go back to some things that you used to do. And it's sad because this person had so much life to live, but chose the other route of committing suicide. I'm really sad that that's how they felt like they had to go out. I wish that as much as we talked, that this person would have just picked up the phone like they normally would have and just said, I really need help, because I was always available. But sometimes people just get to a place where they feel like they can't take it anymore. And if you are not really um, strong mentally, like I said, with everything that's going on and the pandemic and all of that, you will really go crazy. And I share with you all the time that for me personally, battling with depression, and in the past, not now. So y'all just chill, not now. But battling with it in the past, it's um, something that doesn't go away. Okay, so every single day, I have to make sure that I work on me. And so I have to do things, because I'm going to share something with you in a minute, but I have to work on me because there's certain things that can make me fall right back into that depressive state if I don't stop. If I don't stop and just be like, you know what, I'm going to take a moment. Like, y'all see me going on these trips and stuff, and the reason I do it is also because if I don't, I know possibly where it could lead me or it could take me. So I will stop and I will take a trip. I will back away. I will go into my quiet place, because I know for me, if I don't, it can lead me on the road of depression, and I don't want to go back there. But a lot of times, people will um, get caught up in the things of the world. It may be things that they're dealing with in their homes, with their children, um, spouses, relationships, personal things, finances, jobs, security. And so when they can't handle it, there are things that will happen where you just kind of you go left. You do some things that you probably shouldn't do. And that's why I wanted to have this talk tonight, that sometimes you have to pull back and you have to be quiet. You just have to be quiet. People may not understand why you had to pull back. I'm in a season, but sometimes you have to walk in that season, that pullback season of being quiet, that being quiet season. And even though people may not understand why you're being quiet, why you've pulled back, why you've backed away, they may not understand it. They may not get it. But at that moment, you don't even have to worry about explaining why you did it. You just have to do what's best for you. What's in your best interest? So for me, I'm gonna share some things about me to help you all to understand, because the pandemic, I have to work really hard during this pandemic to stay focused. Because if I don't, I can easily fall back into that depressive state. But there's things that are going on in the pandemic, and I was sharing this with my friend Des. I was sharing this with her yesterday. That sorry guys, that's my mom. Um, but for me, I struggle during this pandemic, and one of the things that I struggle with, and this may sound really silly, but some of you may be able to relate to it, is the mask. And I know that we have to wear a mask, and I do wear my mask. I got a whole bunch of them, and I make sure I put them on. But there's something about the mask that causes me to start feeling depressed. It causes me to have anxiety. Um, and I have to really talk to myself because I don't want to fall back. I don't want to say, okay, I'm not going to go outside today because I'm starting to feel a little anxious or I'm starting to feel depressed. When I see a lot of people walking around with the mask on, um, that sometimes will trigger something in me where I feel like if I give into that, I'm going to slip back. And so that's one of the ways that the pandemic works on me. And if I don't sit back and do the work and acknowledge that that's a problem for me and it's a trigger, it's going to cause me to fall back into a place and a state that I don't want to be in. And so I know that there's certain times uh, in my life, especially with this pandemic going on, that I have to be quiet. I really literally have to fall back and just be quiet because I need to do a little bit of work on me, regroup, and then go back and start all over again. And it may be some of you may be out there and you may be feeling the same exact way. Now, I just want to pause for a minute because as I'm talking to you, I'm sharing shows. So y'all help me out. Share, share, share. So I can just stay focused on topic. But it really it can be really hard. It can be really hard. And then I think for some people who are always the leaders, you're always the leaders, you're always the go-to person. You're the person that everybody looks to for support, for help, for strength, for all of that. And sometimes it's hard for those types of people to say, you know what, I can't do it today. Can't do it today. I'm not feeling it. Can't do it. We have to learn how to do that. We have to learn how to pull back and we got to be okay with it. We have to learn how to be quiet. We have to learn how to take our seat. We have to understand what season we are in. Right now, guys, I'm in a season, I am in a season of quietness. And so in my city, where I'm normally out in the street walking around with the camera doing this, I haven't done that this month because I am in a season. I forgot to turn the radio station on. I am in a season of quietness, and I'm going to embrace these quiet moments and do the work that I need to do on me because, to be honest, we all have growing to do. We all have work that we need to do on ourselves. The problem is we don't want to look in that mirror and say, I got issues and I need to do some work. And we got to be okay with saying that we got issues. We got issues. We got stuff wrong with us. I don't care. You could be the president. You could be whoever. The richest person in the world. Everybody has something going on in their life that they're dealing with, and we have to really be okay with saying, you know what, I got issues. And when these things come, and when we feel overwhelmed, the pandemic is causing so much stress and so much anxiety on people. And I've always said, even when this pandemic started, I've always said that there's going to be a lot of people who die from the pandemic, but the biggest death is going to be mental because people are going to lose their minds. And I've said this from the beginning of the pandemic. And that's exactly what's happening because people are just starting to snap. It's just too much. It's too much. We've been locked down for a year, over a year. Um, People are not used to be, especially in America, we're not used to being locked down. told what to do, what we can't do, where we can't go, wear this, don't wear this. We're not used to that. So it has been a difficult year and a half. Now we're looking at, depending on where you live, where things may change again. And we may be going through another lockdown. I know, at least in my state, in my city, they're back to saying put your mask on. You can't walk freely in different places with your mask. And so the back and forth, you know, the back and forth is hard. And while I never really took my mask off, I've continued to wear it. It's been difficult. It's been a struggle for me. It's been something that um, some days I feel like I don't want to go out because I don't want to put this mask on. So let me say this: we have to understand why we behave the way that we do. That's a big thing. If you don't understand why you have these triggers, why you have this anxiety, this stress, where it's coming from, it's going to continue to plague you for the rest of your life. So I had to really understand why it's a mask. Like, why are you having this problem with the mask? And again, being alone in my quiet time, in my quiet space, I had some time to reflect. I had some time to think. And the one thing that you have to do, everybody, is you have to be honest with yourself. Okay? When you doing these reflections and you trying to figure out, why am I having this problem, or why am I doing this? What caused me? How did I get here? You have to be willing to have a serious conversation with that person that's looking back at you in the mirror. And you got to be clear. This is if you want to grow, if you want to get past it, if you want to continue to move on. So I had to have that conversation with myself. I realized, and I've shared this openly before with everybody, um, that growing up, um, for those of you who don't know, I don't know who doesn't know, but I'm pretty sure everybody does. But at age 11, I was molested. And that continued on for about 3 years. I built up a lot of walls. I built up a lot of walls. And one thing that I don't like, that really bothers me, what triggers stuff in me, is being somewhere where I feel like I can't get out. It's like somebody has claustrophobia. So being in a room that has a lot of doors that are closed, and I just feel like I can't get out. And I remember when my ex and I, when we were going to look for houses, when we first, well, we had been married for a few years, but it was our first house. We were looking for our first house to purchase. And I remember telling the realtor, I can only um, be in a house that doesn't have doors, like no basement door. Um, I need just the open floor plan, you know. They didn't have a lot of houses back then, but I was like, I just need the open floor plan. And it was really difficult for the realtor to understand what I was saying, but then we did find a house that had that open concept that I was looking for. But I realized every time I put that mask on, it's a trigger for me. It's a trigger of some, having someone put their hand over my mouth where I could not speak, where I could not scream, um, where I felt like I couldn't breathe because they had their hand over my mouth and my nose so hard. I was 11. And every time I put that mask on, I start feeling that anxiety, the stress, the panic. And I don't know, well, you guys probably didn't see it because I told you guys too that we have haters, so somebody has had my pages all shut down. But I used to actually, whenever I would have those panic attacks, I would always get on camera and I would let you guys see what I'm actually going through. And but those are gone because my pages were shut down. But I really started just trying to figure out like what's going on with me. So I went to the doctor. The doctor was like, I'm going to give you this medicine for anxiety to try to help you out. And started taking the medicine. The medicine really did help. And this is why I say therapy is important. Sometimes you do need medicine to just kind of give you that boost, to keep going. But I realized that the mask really uh, has an effect on me. And it's something that I'm still working through. I'm still struggling with it. I know that there's nobody actually holding me down or holding their hand over my face. But when I take that mask and I put it on and it's covering my face, that's a problem. It's a trigger. And in my days of dealing with depression, I would not have been able to even get out of the bed or go out of the house because I was so depressed and dealing with that. Now it's just a matter of talking to myself and saying, okay, you have this event coming up, or you have this meeting coming up, or you're supposed to meet somebody, or you just need to get out of the house. You got to travel, so you're going to have to put your mask on. And I have to have those conversations with myself, and I have to be real with myself that that's an issue, that's a problem. And so I'm sharing that with you tonight because I know that with this pandemic going on, that we already had issues. Listen, if you're a black person, you had, and I because that's all I can speak on is black people, but we had issues before the pandemic. But it's like now, it's like it feels like a mountain sometimes. It just feels like everything is on you, and you can't move this mountain. People are losing their homes. People have lost their jobs. I know people who I thought their marriages were solid who are not together anymore. The pandemic has had a tumultuous effect on so many people. And we have to get back to figuring out how not to let this pandemic or anything that comes after the pandemic take us down. In my lifetime, I've never been through a pandemic. So this is new for all of us. And we have to figure out what we need to do. Thanks, Joyce. We have to figure out what we need to do. How do we get through it? And the only way that I can tell you to try to get through this is to just be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. That's very simple. Two words. Be quiet. Find your space. Find your quiet space and deal with yourself. Deal with your issues. Because see, I see people on social media, um, they want to tell you how to do this. They want to tell you how to do that. Go here, go here. Their life looks great. They're laughing, smiling. I see couples together. And I don't know if it's because I just study people. I can just see through people sometimes. And sometimes I'll see couples and I'm just like, it would be great if they were as real with each other as they are trying to appear to be on the screen. We have to stop feeling like that save the world mentality, that's out the window. Being perfect, out the window, that's gone. We're going through a time in our lives that we've never experienced before, and we're all having to try to figure out how to deal with this, how to get through it, how to wake up every day and get the strength to keep going. We all have to try to figure that out. So taking time to be quiet, to just take a moment to deal with you. Listen, the world is still going to be going on. If you still want to save people, they still will be there to save when you come back. But you can't help anybody until you help yourself. You can't help anybody to build a bridge to get somewhere if you haven't built a bridge for yourself. You just can't. It bottom line, you just can't. You have to make sure that you are whole, that you are healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because this is, I hate to say it, it's not going to get better. We're just going to continue to constantly see something going on. We had the pandemic, now it's the Delta variant, something's going to come after that. Things are just going to continue to come. I don't want anybody to be like my friend who committed suicide a few weeks ago and just feel like that's the end. You know, this is the end. I just can't do it anymore. Because you can. You can. But we all, like I said, we have to be honest with ourselves. And there are times I have three phones and this watch right here, you know, and there are times when I just turn it off. And if people call, they call. If they text, they text. You just have to wait until I turn everything back on because I have to mentally, you know how we say woosah. I have to mentally woosah and just let it go. And just lay my cards on the table and say, hey, you know, you need to deal with this or you need to work on this. Because as I tell everybody, you can pretend to be okay and you could be falling apart inside. But at some point in time, it's all going to come out. It could come out in the form of sickness. It could come out in the form of you just going off, you just zapping and snapping at somebody and you don't realize why you're doing it. Because the brain can only take so much before it has to come out. So it's going to come out somewhere. Oh, Joyce. Yeah, Joyce. Right. She said it's already here in Landom and C37 variants. And that's what I'm saying. So, what do we do going forward? What do we do? We've gone through this year and a half of the pandemic. What do we do going forward to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a place of being so depressed that we feel like suicide is the only option? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I went through that, you know, towards the end of my marriage, where I was just done. I felt like nobody cared, nobody was listening, nobody's paying attention. And I was just depressed. And I felt like suicide was the only out for me. And I tried it, but it didn't work. And, you know, we have to understand that that's the cowardly way out. To say, I'm going to kill myself and I'm just going to be done, I'm going to be gone. And you're leaving all of these people behind who really do depend on you, people who really do love you, who really do support you. Sometimes you got to open your mouth and say, I need help. Sometimes you got to pick up the phone, call your doctor, I need help. Sometimes, if you don't want to do those things, you might have to fall on your knees and pray, God, I need help. But what you don't want to do is just give up. Because, like I said, this is only going to continue on. And so, the questions we need to ask ourselves is what are we going to do going forward? What are we going to do differently from what we did before? And that's where I am with the mask. What am I going to do differently as I move forward? Because I don't want to continue to have to rely on a medication when I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling stressed because of a mask. I don't want to fall into a depressive state because I move about so much and I'm traveling so much. I have to wear a mask. So I have to figure it out. And I've come up with a little plan for myself about, you know, how to deal with my situation when it comes to the mask. And that's what it comes down to. That's what we have to do. But in order to do those things, like I said, you have to sit down and have a personal conversation with yourself and be quiet. Be quiet. It's okay to sit in quietness. You know, a lot of people will not go into a quiet place and sit and just be by themselves. And the reason they don't do it is because people really don't. you know, they don't want to deal with their mess. They don't want to deal with what's going on inside of them. So they choose to be busy going here, going there. I'm going to attend to you. I'm going to do that. I'm going to run over here. I'm taking care of that. And by the time you come home, you're so tired that you just want to fall into the bed. And you never really deal with what's going on inside of you. And again, let's get to the place where it's okay to help somebody. Yeah, help them, but take care of you first. Take care of you first. And be careful who you get advice from. Be very careful. Some people are not going to like what I say, and I understand that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Be careful who you get advice from, because people are quick to tell you what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. But then you look at their life and you realize they're not quite following their own advice, but they got a lot for you. You want to follow and be a part. I don't even want to use the word follow, but you want to be in the midst of people who are trying to figure it out. People who are trying to figure out, how do I change the patterns, the behavioral patterns that are going on in my life? How do I not stay at point A? How do I get to point B, C, D, E? How do I get there? You want to be with those kind of people, because everybody ain't your people. Everybody ain't your people. And I'll be honest enough to say that I'm one who will move away quickly from the church that I go to, all the way to some friends. Because if I see you not moving the right way, I'm gone. Because how you move is going to have an effect on me. Joyce, hey, Pastor Shannon. I'm gonna talk about Pastor Shannon in a minute. She said, "Don't take care of you first. If you don't take care of you first, you can't take care of anybody else." And that's what I've been saying. You can't. You really can't. And Michael Randolph said that's true, because smiling faces. Y'all know how if you old like me, you know what that song's about. I'm not even gonna sing it. Daz is over in the background. See, Daz needs to be right here on the camera with me, but she in the background giggling. And Pastor Shannon Wright said, "Not everything that tastes good." Come on, Pastor Shannon. Not everything that tastes good is good for you. And see, we got to be careful. We have to be careful, because we're living in such a critical time. Like I said, with this pandemic going on, with all of the things that we're having to face right now, children can't go to school, because I'm telling you, they're going to send these kids to school, but they're not going to be in school the whole year. Mark my words, they're not going to be in there the whole year. So prepare for that. Prepare for change. Period. They let us out for the summer to play. I got my bathing suit on right now and everything. They let us out for the summer, but come fall, it's going to be some changes, and we have to prepare for that. Don't wait until we get there to say, okay, now I got to figure out what to do. Figure it out right now. You see it coming. You see that it's coming. Figure it out right now, because if you don't, you're going to be one of those people, God forbid, like my friend, who got into a situation where this person felt like it was better to take their life than try to fight through it and figure out what they needed to do to get from point A to point B. And so we can't just sit here and just listen, I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. Like I said, I'm in Delaware right now with my girl over here. We having a good time. But mentally, I'm always preparing for the next. Preparing for the next. Because I know something is coming. I pray that it doesn't, but we see the writing on the wall. We see it. And so we have to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to handle this. If you know that there are certain things that trigger things within you, now's the time to start working on it. Because the next shutdown, when we're in the house, we can't go anywhere, everything's closed, and guess who you have to deal with? You got to deal with you. And I'm telling you, if you don't take your quiet time and learn how to deal with yourself, and I said it when I was in New York last week. Now I'm in Delaware this week. Get off of social media. Stop airing your dirty laundry on social media, yelling and screaming and boo-hooing and ha-ha. Deal with your issues. Deal with you. Because see, when I deal with me, I don't need to get on social media and yell and scream at anyone. I don't. I need to deal with myself. And I will conduct myself accordingly to the point where you will understand that I might be one of those people you don't want to play with and do stupid things on social media too. And so we got to be really, really careful because we are in charge of this vessel that God has given to us. And we have to make sure that we're putting into it things that are going to feed us, things that are going to uplift and edify. If I'm hanging around somebody that's acting crazy, you think some of that craziness is not going to rub off for me? If I'm hanging around people who are always doing goofy stuff and running here, running there, have no concept of anything, you don't think that's going to rub off on me? What I'm trying to do now and what I'm saying to you all is that it is important for you to evaluate what's going on in your life, what's going on in your home, what's going on in your wallet, what's going on in your relationship with your children, with your wife, with your husband, with your girlfriend, your boy, whoever y'all have, whoever. What I'm saying is that it's time to sit back, be quiet, and start really working on you. Because life can be great, even during the pandemic. But it's about your mindset. It's about what you put into your mind, what you feed your mind. So if you're feeding it garbage or you're sitting here all day on social media looking at what everybody is doing and the other thing is these stupid reality shows, if you're sitting here feeding your mind garbage, that's what's going to come out of your mouth. And we are not even the way this world is going, we are in no position to sit and continue to digest things that are not going to uplift and edify and strengthen our minds. We're you know we're in bad condition. We're in bad shape right now, and so that's why I was saying last week that I'm going to start doing these videos. I'm going to start talking about things that people are really dealing with, and I think of a lot of my friends, like I said, who I would say, wow, they got a really great relationship. Some of those people are no longer together. And I don't know what happened in their house, but I know that they're not together. But the thing that I think about, because I was married for so long, I know the feeling of you have a spouse, or a partner, and then you come home to that empty room or that empty house, that empty apartment. That affects you mentally. There are people who, and I'm one of those people, I've lost about 15 people so far this year, just back to back to back to back. And I haven't really had time to process the deaths. And so I have to check in with myself sometimes and say, you need to deal with that. You need to deal with that. And I take my quiet moments. It's to the point where I can't even cry anymore. I just take my quiet moments, I reflect, I think, I wonder why, because all of them were like sudden deaths, totally unexpected, and it can really work on your psyche. And so I said, for me, what helps me is to be able to talk, to be verbal, to just put it out into the atmosphere, and then I can kind of move on. That doesn't work for everybody. You have to find what works for you. You have to find whatever that release mechanism is, what is it for you? What is it that helps you to release? You know, what is it? And for me, it's actually being quiet, trying to figure out how I got here, why I'm feeling this way, and then what am I going to do differently? How am I going to move forward? Do I need to call my doctor? Do I need to get some help? Do I need to call a friend? I mean, the way things are going now for me, it's a little sketchy and even calling friends because my friends are going through stuff, and I don't want to put a lot of things on them. Sometimes it's good, to get advice, but I've learned, and I think life teaches you this, that when you go through certain things, you learn how to pray, you know, and you move away from talking to your friends so much. You fall on your knees, you pray about it, and God just begins to walk you through it. Um, so I am here, and I'm going to be here every night to have certain conversations. And as I said last week, some of these conversations are not, well, I will say 99% of the conversations that we have will not be for children or anybody under 16 because it's going to get deep. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to grow through this pandemic. We're going to have to talk about some things, we're going to have to deal with some issues. And we're going to have to be willing to look at that person in the mirror and say, you got issues and you need help, and we're about to do some work. Don't be afraid to be in your quiet season. It's okay. It's okay to be quiet. I'm actually enjoying this month of quietness. Even though I'm working, I'm enjoying the season of quietness because God has told me to pull back in the month of August. Pull back. And as I pulled back, he started showing me things and revealing things to me and sending people my way. And I'm like, oh, this is why he told me to pull back. Because if I continued to go the way that I was going and running here and running there, I would have missed certain opportunities. And so I'm in my season where I've pulled back and I'm being quiet intentionally. I'm just being quiet on purpose. And I'm doing my work, I'm doing stuff in the background, and I'm working on me. Sometimes it'll take a couple of days for you to do that, it could take a month. For some of you, you may have to just stop some of the things that you're doing and just pull back altogether and work on you. Because if you don't, everything is going to come crumbling and crashing down, and you're not going to be able to deal with it. So, this week, we're going to get started and we're going to do some work. Share the video with your friends. Let them know that we're going to be talking with Dr. J after dark. Don't bring no kids because, like I told y'all last week, I don't know what kind of parents that have been birthed who are having these children in the 21st century. But I thank you, Jesus, that mine is 25 because I would be up under the jail because of the way these children act and some of the things that they do. And the parents sit there like it's normal. So they said God knows how much you can bear, how much you can handle. So he knew, she's not going to be able to handle that. So mine is 25, and I thank the Lord. I want to read some of the comments before I go. Pastor Shannon said that falls, amen, falls are going to be a challenge. If you don't get it together, folks, Donnie McClurkin said, we fall down, but we get up. Some of y'all not going to be able to get up. You're going to have to learn how to deal with falling and wiping that dirt off and getting up and keeping it moving. And Joyce said, we're certainly headed for the second lockdown. I absolutely believe that. This is my brother Fred. He said, some people have to see the future being brighter to even want to move forward, which is not always the case of being able to see that. for you. Just you just have to trust that it will be better. It's a work, we're all a work in progress. Fred, you said a mouthful, and that's so true. Some people can't see that their future is bright. I was one of those people. I couldn't see that my future was bright. It took someone else who didn't know me to tell me that I had a bright future. I'm looking at myself in the mirror every day, couldn't see it, didn't believe it. Sometimes other people have to come into your life. So I hope that what I'm doing, uh, you know, in the evening will really help other people to move forward. And Pastor Shannon says, my bishop calls it your people under the steps. Deal with your people under the steps before they deal with you. Yes, them people under the steps. And let me tell you something. We're going to talk about them people under the steps. Leave them step people there. Leave the step people where they are. Okay? Just leave them where they are. If they under the steps, leave them there and just pray for them. That's all. Don't try to bring them out from under the steps. Just leave them there. And Fred said, to be honest, we are really in a position to make things better. We are, absolutely. Absolutely. There is nothing that is not within your reach. It's just that you don't believe your hands can get there. That's all it is. When you start believing in yourself and in the power that God has given to you, you will understand that there is nothing, nothing. Like I said this to you all last week. People can say whatever they want, but there is nothing that's impossible. Um, Now, what did Fred say smart on here? He said, you always seem to feel better when you buy when you buy a new pair of high heel shoes. Let me tell y'all something. Fred is my brother from another mother, but he knows that I am a shoeaholic. I'm addicted to shoes. And yes, I love high heel shoes. Um, and I have to you know what, Fred, seriously, I'm glad you said that because we are going to talk about that because um, in my depression, the thing that I would do is go shopping. And I would shop and I would buy stuff and buy stuff and buy stuff, and things would have tags on them. I would buy things for work, for church, and people would always say, I've never seen you in the same outfit or a pair of shoes two or three times. You always have on something new. And I did because I was so depressed that all I was doing was shopping. So now that was one of the things that I had to work on. So now when things start happening, my fingers instantly, and y'all, it is nothing like online shopping. Lord have mercy. It's nothing like it. I instantly want to take my fingers and pick this phone up and just shop. Just shop. But you know what? This is what I do. And I'm being really transparent. And that's what this show is going to be about, too. There are times when what I'll do is I'll go shopping. I did it this weekend. I was feeling a little, stuff was going on. So I'll do pretend shopping. And I'll just sit there and I'll shop. I'll put everything in the cart that I want. I go back and look at it. And I'm just like, I really don't need this. I really don't need that. And I start Xing it out. And before I know it, I'm done. And I'm just back to, whatever I was doing before. And that's something that I had to really work on. Like, okay, go ahead and shop. Just don't hit the button. Don't hit the button. Where when it says proceed, go to checkout, don't hit the button. So I've learned not to do that. But I do actually sit there and I still shop and I still um, look at shoes and clothes and if you could see my closet, you would understand that I don't need a shoe or a piece of clothing. The closet is already bursting open. And so these are things that we're going to talk about though, but that's how I learned to deal with that and not actually purchase. I think I had like $100 and something in the cart. And I ended up just Xing it out. And I felt good because I did put everything in there that I wanted, but then I went back and I was just like, I really don't need that. And but that's happened over time because before I would hit that button real quick. and not really care. So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about what happens when you are in a relationship and that sex game is played. You know, you're getting on my nerves, so you're not getting any. And then with this pandemic going on, and I'm talking to the male and females, with the pandemic going on, it's putting people out here, even with this pandemic going on, who will give you what you want. And so we're going to talk about that. And how do you deal with it? You know, how do you deal with that temptation? How do you deal with it? Because everything that's a temptation for you may not be a temptation for other people. And so some of y'all might be saying, "Oh, well, why is she talking about that?" Well, if that's not a temptation for you, don't tune in that night. How about that? Don't tune in. These are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about addictions. Addictions. Why do we have addictions? And not just drug addiction, which is what the don't get me started on that church. Because the church, I think they only know two addictions, and that's drug addiction and sex. What do they call it? There's not the sex addiction. What do they call it? Adultery. They only know those two sins. So we're going to talk about things that people are going through right now. And I don't want you to fall. I don't want you to get caught up in anything. How do you not get yourself tied up in something that you're going to regret later on? Okay. My son and I and his friend, we were talking about this last night, and they were laughing at me because I'm single and I do get approached a lot, but because of what I've gone through that goes back to childhood, which I talked about earlier in this video, I have to be very careful about letting men in because that part of me may be attracted to something that I don't need to be attracted to, that's not good for me. And we'll go into detail and I'll help you understand that later. And so that's why I said that it's so important for you to be quiet, learn who you are, understand how you operate. There's some of y'all that's listening to this and don't even understand how you function because you're so busy helping everybody else, saving the world. But for yourself, you just dress yourself up and you go out and you look good, but inside you got all this other stuff going on. So we're going to work on those things. Fred said, what did he say? You just spoke a mouthful because the question is, what are the things that we think we want but don't need in our life? Absolutely. Absolutely. Some people think I need a man. I don't need no man. I'm good. I'm good. We're going to talk about that because people will tell you what you need, why you need it, how you need it. But you didn't ask me. You didn't get my opinion. I just find it so. Humans are fascinating. I'm just fascinated with the mind and just how people function, how we function. I shouldn't say people, how we function. And so, guys, have a great night. I'm actually, like I said, I'm in Delaware with a really good friend of mine. Um, and we were talking and we just decided that there's so much going on in the world that we do have to stop, and you do have to stop and spend some time with the people that's like been your friends, your real friends for life. And even though she does not want to come on the camera, like she's over in the corner laughing at me, I have to say, like, we have been through some stuff, like some serious stuff, and she has been a really true friend. And you don't find people like that. And so when you have friends in your life like that, celebrate them. Um, congratulations to her son who's going to go to college. But you celebrate those people, your family, those people that are in your life that you know to have your back. Um, because y'all know I go a lot, and I'm just in the middle of me going, always stopping to celebrate people in my life. And she's one of those people. So we were talking last month, and I was like, look, you came down to my graduation. I'm coming up to Delaware. I know she didn't think I was coming, but I put her on my list. I put her on my travel list. You want to come on the camera now? You still don't want to come on the camera? So anyway, I put her on my travel list, and I said I'm gonna go spend some time with my girl Des, and we just gonna hang out in Delaware, and just have a good time. I still have to work, so I'm still gonna be working, but just to let her know that I do appreciate her friendship, and I think that's important, and that's how we also keep each other um, in that healthy state too, because you know that you have people who really have your back, and that's why I said know your people, because everybody that is like rah rah, you this, you that, and they dapping you. Mm-mm. Everybody's not your people. I like what Pastor Shannon said. The people under the stairs. You them people under the stairs, y'all. The people under the stairs. I love it. I love it. Anyway, everybody have a good night. Make sure you share this video and be quiet. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to take a break. Let your mind rest. Oh, before I forget, this is the announcement I wanted to make before I forget. Pastor Shannon and I are going to be doing a this week it's going to be like a virtual church service only for an hour because a lot of people are sick of church. Imagine that. A lot of people have told me I ain't going back to church no more for whatever reason. And so we're going to be doing a virtual church. It's going to be nothing like your traditional church or what you're looking for, but the goal is to help people to understand that you do need to have that foundation. You do need to have, you need to. I serve God. People serve they serve the earth, they serve this person. There's people who serve the devil, but you got to pray to somebody. And so, whoever you pray to, your Creator, we're having a virtual service this week where we're going to come together and we're going to worship, music, talk, pray, um, and really help people to understand that we do understand what you're going through. And the one thing we don't want you to do is give up on church because this is the thing about it. You can give up on church, you can give up on your pastor, but what is that doing for you? Now, how does that benefit you because you're giving up on all of that? So we want to help you to come back. And if we can do it through what we're doing, which is like a church without walls, if we can do that, then we want to be able to bless you and to help you to continue to move in the steps, move forward as you were going. Don't let the pandemic, your pastor, the the church people, the church, listen, don't let these things stop you. You do what's best for you. And sometimes changes have to be made in your life in order for you to be able to move forward. And I'll leave it right there. I'll leave it right there. So, guys, have a great night. My name is Dr. Now, see, we were supposed to figure out that whole name thing anyway. If y'all want to call me Dr. Lady J, I'm okay with it. I don't really care. Hey, Jonathan from Uganda. He said it's 4:33 a.m. in Uganda. Jonathan, it is 9:34 here. I'm in Delaware. But thank you for being up and watching us from Uganda. Thank you. So we will talk tomorrow, and I hope that you all got something from what I said tonight. Be quiet. Let God order your steps. Close your mouth. Stop having so much to say. Have a great night. And I hope the pool is still open because I got this bathing suit on and I really want to go check out the water. So I hope it's still open. If not, then whatever. But you guys, I will see you tomorrow. I'll be broadcasting from Delaware again tomorrow. And have a great night. Embrace who you are. And don't give up on you. because you have a lot to live for. All right. I am Dr. Lady J or Dr. Charlene or Dr. J or whatever you want to call me. Have a great night.